Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third part of the first week's lecture. This part is going to be on basic essay structure. And here we go. Let me just get back to the beginning. Basic essay structure, as I said. Now, it turns out that the whole time when I've been giving these lectures, so basically for the last half hour, I've been pointing this way, and that's wrong. It's because that's where the source number 2 is located on my screen, but I realized that I should be pointing this way. So let's give that a try. Okay, basic essay structure. This is, as it says, a guide to basic essay structure. That means your essay structure can be fancier. It probably will get fancier as you proceed through your time at the University of Exeter. But if you don't know what to do and you're scared, this will take you through. Here we go. Let's start with introductions. Every essay has an introduction. The easiest form of introduction is called a funnel introduction. And it is so called because it funnels the reader into the essay. I have a funnel downstairs in my kitchen. I should have brought it upstairs. Okay, props later. Okay. A funnel introduction works like an upside down triangle. Your first sentence is a broad beginning statement. Your second sentence is a slightly narrower statement. Your third sentence is your thesis. And your thesis funnels your readers into your essay. Okay. I say okay a lot. I really need to work on that. Oh, I was about to say it again. Well then, here we go. What do I mean by a broad beginning statement? There are some things I don't mean, so let's get those out of the way first. Don't start the paragraph in this modern world, okay, or in the Victorian era, or in the medieval period. That's actually slightly better. But these giant statements are not good. Let's look at in this modern world. Okay, first of all, there aren't any other modern worlds. Okay, so what you're really saying is in the modern world. However, the other thing is that if you say in this modern world, you're really saying in this world. So it's one or the other, in this world or in the modern world. And I think once you hear both those beginnings of a sentence, you'll realize how hopelessly giant they are. Second of all, try not to begin with a dictionary definition. I know this is very popular, but it's so popular that it's dull. Everybody does it. It's a cliche. Try to begin with something larger. For example, in the 16th century, English women were largely considered to be the property of English men. Big statement, but not a huge statement. Okay, that's your broad beginning statement. Narrower statement. So we're going to do, in the 16th century, English women were largely considered to be the property of English men. There were, however, some exceptions. Widows were not considered to be the property of any man. Narrower statement. Third sentence, the tip of the funnel, the thesis. Okay, a thesis is an arguable statement that your essay will prove and or defend. That is the definition of a thesis. We will talk about this when we have the longer lecture that's just on introductions. For now, just remember that the thesis is the statement that funnels you in to the rest of the essay. Okay, so in the 16th century, English men were largely considered the property of English women. There were, however, some exceptions. Widows were considered the property of no man. The status of the widow is debatable, and this essay will consider it from all facets, from all sides. End of it. Okay, you're in. Here's an example that I did not just make up. I made one earlier. For years, scientists have been looking for the Higgs boson particle, an elementary physics building block that is supposed to explain mass. Big, broad statement. After several failed attempts, sorry, I got lost in my own sentence, on the 4th of July, 2012, two separate groups of researchers confirmed the existence of a particle consistent with the description of the Higgs particle. Lower. Narrower. I just should not read my own writing. Am I right? Let's try this again with dignity. Thesis. Because it seems scientists may soon be able to confirm its existence, it is worth considering precisely what the Higgs particle, also called the Higgs boson, will offer to physics. And you're off. Broad beginning statement, narrower statement, thesis. Okay, bear in mind that this is the bare minimum of an introduction. If you want to have a longer introduction, you can have a longer introduction. If your introduction, double-spaced, takes up longer than a page, that is too long. We will discuss this in the lecture on introductions. Body paragraphs. This is the next element. You know body paragraphs. They're the ones that have your points in them. Each body paragraph offers, considers, or demonstrates, or all three, a single point. And each has, at a minimum, a topic sentence, a claim, although you may also know it as a point, a sentence of evidence, and a sentence that explains how and why the evidence supports the claim. Surprise, surprise, we're also going to have a lecture on how to use evidence. So hold on to your hat. That will occur later. Because each of these sentences is equally important, you can think of body paragraphs as shaped like rectangles. Claim, evidence, explanation. You may be familiar with this as point, evidence, explanation. Some people are taught, remember to P, point, evidence, explanation. Now, let's have an example. Topic sentence. Marriage has long played a central role in successful societies. Tick. Evidence. Anthropologists have discovered that even before the appearance of Judaism and Christianity, primitive ceremonies linking men and women together in monogamous unions were carried out. Okay, anthropological evidence. Explanation, where you make the link to show how the evidence proves your point. The existence of such ceremonies suggests that even societies very different from modern ones believed sanctioned unions between individuals were vital. Explanation. Now your reader can't miss it. You've made an assertion, you've offered evidence, you've explained how the evidence backs up the assertion. I don't care how dumb your readers are, they're going to get the point. What I want you to notice particularly, even now, is that the evidence is not a quotation. And in the lecture that we have in a couple of weeks about using evidence, one thing that I'll talk about is that you don't have to quote. You can paraphrase. Notice that here you've paraphrased your evidence, or whoever the writer of this fantastic paragraph is has paraphrased their evidence. Body paragraphs. Remember, each paragraph deals with only a single point. Once you've dealt with that point, move on to a new topic and a new paragraph. Also, check your paragraph to make sure you haven't included anything irrelevant to its point. Sometimes paragraphs get long, positively unwieldy, I would say. If you have a paragraph that's longer than a page, that paragraph is probably too long. If you're looking for places to break paragraphs, you want to look for words like however, furthermore, nevertheless, also, in addition. If these words occur in the middle of a paragraph, they are a kind of elaboration on a point which qualifies as a subpoint, which means that might be a good place to cut your monster paragraph. Conclusions. Every essay needs a conclusion. Conclusions are very, very hard. In my experience, they're even harder than introductions. So it might help to think of them as reversed introductions. That's how I like to think of them, as just a right side up triangle. Okay, a conclusion, like every other sentence, every other paragraph needs to have 3 sentences. In this case, it needs them because it has to accomplish 3 goals. 1. Restate your thesis. 2. Remind readers what you offered in proof of that thesis. And 3. End well. That's the hardest part. Unsurprisingly, wait a second. Oh, here we go. Restate, remind, final sentence. We're going to talk about crafting conclusions in a later lecture. That was the unsurprisingly. So for now, just remember, okay, that restate your thesis doesn't mean go to the thesaurus, find a word that means the same as each word in your thesis, and just stick in those new words in place of the original words. It means restate your thesis in a way that makes it feel fresh. We'll talk about this, okay? The same goes for reminding the reader what you offered. Don't just take like the topic sentence of each paragraph and stick it in the bottom paragraph. Restate your remindings. Oof, that sounds like a lot. Just to add to the burden, your final sentence should be a separate sentence from these two, and it rounds off the essay firmly and elegantly. Don't worry, final sentences are the devil, and we will talk about them later, I promise, in the lecture about conclusions. Here's an example. This conclusion goes with the paragraph up there, or strictly speaking, up there. Restate. It seems then that marriage has long played a vital role in many societies. Stating your thesis. Religious, literary, and anthropological sources all offer evidence that connections between two people sanctioned by the church, the law, or some other central authority are an integral building block of moral, stable communities. And then your ending sentence. This evidence, combined with declining marriage rate among heterosexuals, leads to a simple question. Why are we denying marriage to homosexuals, the one population that actively wants it? And you're out. And to give you some idea of how successful this paragraph is, it convinced people that we should no longer deny homosexual marriage because now we have it. Be aware of these. Don't start your conclusion with in conclusion. Okay, it's your last paragraph. There's going to be white space underneath it, or it's going to be at the bottom of the page. It's obvious that whatever you say will be in conclusion. In an academic essay, a paragraph must have 3 sentences. That is because each paragraph, even the intro and the conclusion, needs a claim, a backup, and an explanation of why it all matters. And if you think about it, even your introduction, big sentence, smaller sentence, thesis, does that. A paragraph can certainly be longer than 3 sentences. Remember, though, that every sentence must relate to the point of the paragraph. Also, and I'm sorry to say this, almost certainly the last sentence of your essay is going to be the hardest to write. Practical solutions. If you can't get started, and this is always a huge problem for me, I just can't see my way in, so I stare at the computer screen, or in my case, a sheet of paper with no idea of how to get to the essay that I actually want to write. If that happens, just write any 3 sloppy sentences as an introduction. You can always go back and change them. Remember, revision is probably the most important part of the writing process. If a paragraph seems hopelessly confusing, put each sentence on a separate line and then try shifting their order around. It may turn out that you just need a different sentence order, and I can't tell you how many times that has worked for me. Just remember, finally, if you get caught, that your essay should be shaped like this. Although you will probably have more body paragraphs than 3. And if you can't remember that, just remember your essay should look like a sweet turned on end. Okay, now we're done. I've probably said okay a million times, but in any case, this brings us to the end of the triumvirate of week 1 lectures. Just remember, let me get out first, right? Okay, So this brings an end to the week 1 lectures, which means you're good to go on basic essay structure. Okay? And remember, okay, someone's got 2 thumbs and is teaching you guys to be better writers. This gal. But somebody's got 2 forefingers and is becoming a better writer. You. Over and out. I'll see you next week.